Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has won the floor test. Bihar's Deputy Chief Minister Tejaswi Yadav has sharpened his attack on the BJP in the Assembly. This amid the raids. The latest to be under the scanner, remember, are Lalu Yadav's brother-in-law Subhash Yadav and Rabri Devi's private secretary Nagmani Yadav. Now remember, the CBI is conducting raids at their residences. Meanwhile, searches are also being conducted at a Gurugram mall allegedly owned by Tejaswi Yadav and family. The RJD alleges that the raids are in fact being conducted to invoke fear in all the opposition leaders. The Assembly Speaker, remember, Vijay Sinha has already resigned and Maheshwar Hazari has taken over as the interim Speaker. All right, and I'm being joined by KC Tyagi, JDU leader, on the broadcast to share his whole perspective. So do you think that these raids that are underway in Bihar and in fact at a Gurugram mall owned by Tejaswi Yadav come in on the same time as your government is facing the floor test in the state? Do you think this is a mere coincidence, or is it a clear-cut bit by the BJP to, as Tejaswi Yadav said, to invoke fear in the opposition leaders?
Today it was the day of the confidence motion by the government of Mr. Nitish Kumar. We have a majority of 164 out of 243. But the same day, a large number of houses of the opposition leader were ready. And it was known to everybody in Bihar and into the media also, as soon as he will come out of NDA, a large-scale harassment of the opposition leader will be held. There were 14, 15 places where ED was searching. And you know the latest record of ED raids in Lok Sabha, the minister for this department told in the House that 5,422 cases was registered, in which only 23 were found guilty. That is minus 0.5% less. Similar in the case of the CBI. So these are political motives, and I am sorry to say it brings down the prestige and the respectability of the CBI and the ED also, which are a major investigating agency.
All right, sir, Nitish Kumar just spoke on the floor of the House, and in fact, he went on to assert that there are clear-cut attempts by the BJP to finish off, to wipe out the JDU. In fact, not just this, he in fact also went on to refute the BJP, your former ally's charge that he has absolutely no future ambitions to be the Prime Minister. Your response to that?
Are already on record on saying on many occasions that we have not a sufficient number in Parliament. We have only 16 members in Parliament, and the magic number is 272. Therefore, there is no question of our claiming Nitish Kumar as to be the new Chief Minister. But as well as we are of the opinion that he has a vast experience of administration, 6-7 years as Central Cabinet Minister and 17 years as the Chief Minister of Bihar. Therefore, he deserves for this post, but we are not claiming for it.
All right, sir, I want to ask you another key question here. How do you think these raids can impact the longevity of the alliance in Bihar? You know, in fact, in Maharashtra also in the past, we've seen this pattern, how several erstwhile Aghadi leaders were raided by the central agencies and eventually, in fact, went on to break away from the Uddhav Sena and joined hands with the BJP. Do you somewhere fear that this may just follow the same pattern if this quote-unquote harassment continues?
Earlier, our old friendly party, that is BJP, was in search of Eknath Shinde in Bihar. They could not find any Eknath Shinde in Bihar. Therefore, they are trying to harass our friendly party, that is RJD.
All right, sir, before I let you go, we as a channel, our focus always continues to be the welfare of the people. And in the middle of all this politics, it's very important to take note of the fact that every man of Bihar shouldn't be neglected in terms of welfare. So what exactly is your government's plan of action when it comes to the people of Bihar? In the past, we've heard, in fact, Tejaswi Yadav reiterating his 10 lakh jobs promise. But how pragmatic is it when it comes to, doing this work on the ground?
Long answer, but we will fulfill the promises given to the masses as well as to the media also.
All right, that was JDU leader KC Tyagi joining us live on the broadcast, where once again he goes on to reiterate his party's charge against the BJP, saying that once again the BJP is only misusing the central agencies for its own political agenda in order to settle political scores. Remember, this comes in the backdrop of the CBI raids in Bihar, in multiple locations in Bihar, and at a Gurugram mall that is in fact owned by Tejaswi Yadav. In fact, the JDU leader KC Tyagi also goes on to talk about how the central agencies are only losing credibility owing to the pattern where they're constantly going after the opposition leaders and hounding them. So that's the latest that we're picking up in terms of the high political drama that continues between the BJP and the Mahagathbandhan 2.0. Remember, just a few while back, you saw, in fact, the Chief Minister who spoke on the floor of the House just a few moments back, in fact, throwing an open dare to the BJP. We heard Deputy Chief Minister Tejaswi Yadav also saying that the Biharis can and never be scared. And in fact, the BJP can continue with its harassment tactics, but they cannot scare the Biharis. And on this note, I'm also being joined by Mr. Jay Narayan Pandey, who's a news editor with the Times of India. Sir, a very good evening to you, and thank you for speaking to Mirror Now. What is your perspective on this entire high-voltage drama that is being witnessed in Bihar right now?
Yeah, it was expected, and BJP played smartly because had Vijay Sinha resigned earlier, they could. I don't see any logic of moving no trust motion against him. Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Please continue.
So, because had he resigned, then what was the point in moving resolution against him? So, but Mr. Sinha played his card well, and he put his perspective on the floor of the House before quitting. So that was one point, and that was a kind of anti-climax because everyone was expecting a high voltage drama inside the House, but it showed the maturity of politics, democracy in Bihar, the way they conducted the proceedings very smartly and coolly. So, and nothing unexpected happened. It was all on the dotted lines. So it was very much expected, unless the ruling coalition could create a scene by restricting Mr. Sinha from holding the chair and putting his perspective. So, and since Mr. Nitish Kumar has a support of 165 MLAs, so there was no confusion about him proving the majority on the floor.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for joining us with your viewpoints. I urge you to stay with us, for we have a live press conference by the BJP that is underway. Let's cut across.
वापस करने के लिए बाध्य किया विस्तार से उन सबों पर हम सबों ने सदन में अपनी बात को रखा है।
All right. right, so there you heard in fact, a reaction coming in from one of the BJP leaders. This, as remember, the Nitish Tejaswi Sarkar is facing the litmus test, the floor test in the state of Bihar this weeks after they formed the Mahagathbandhan 2.0. Now, once again, I would like to go back to Mr. Jainarayan Pandey, a news editor with Times of India. Sir, we can continue with your perspective on this entire political drama that is unfolding in the state of Bihar. Also here, I want to ask you, do you see any kind of similarity in terms of the developments that are taking place in both Maharashtra and Bihar? We saw, in fact, how, the Uddhav Thackeray-led government, which was a former ally, the Sena, which was a former ally of the BJP, eventually went on to snap all its tie, form its own government, and was quote-unquote harassed by the BJP, following which now we've seen the collapse, complete implosion of that government. Do you somewhere feel that these raids are impacting the longevity of the current Bihar government?
No, I don't see that, because this government is in absolute majority and there is no chance of splitting any of the party now. As the JDU or the coalition Mahagathbandhan claims that BJP was trying to play...
Right, sir, sir, I beg your apology. We'll come back to you. We're being joined by Mr. Anand Jha from the BJP. We'll go to him first. Mr. Anand Jha, thank you so much for making time and speaking to us. Here, I want to ask you, these central agency raids on several JDU, RJD leaders taking place on the same day when the Mahagathbandhan 2.0 faces protest. Is it a mere coincidence, or as the charge that is being leveled by the Bihar government that this is only a clear-cut bid by your party to harass them?
मैं आपके माध्यम से पूछना चाहता हूं, सबसे पहले तो धन्यवाद आपको, लेकिन मैं आपके माध्यम से पूछना चाहता हूं कि नो कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन या आज वोट ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस इनका था, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि करप्शन में जो लोग इन्वॉल्व हैं उस पर काम ना हो, या क्या भारत सरकार की एजेंसी रुक जाएगी? इसलिए इस तरह की जो तर्क देते हैं, जो भी व्यक्ति कहते हैं कि आज वोट ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस जीते हैं इसलिए ऐसा किया गया है, निराधार बात है। और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि जो आरजेडी के लोग हैं या जो अभी वर्तमान की सरकार बिहार में बनी है, क्या एक भी व्यक्ति करप्शन से मुक्त है? और यदि करप्शन से मुक्त नहीं है तो क्या करप्शन रोकने की जो व्यवस्था है और जो प्रण हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने भ्रष्टाचार के विरुद्ध लिया है उस पर में कार्रवाई होना गलत बात है? क्या आप इसको जस्टिफाई करते हैं कि आज वोट ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस था और आज रेड ना पड़े? ये जो भी बातें नैरेटिव गढ़ी जा रही है वो अपने आप को बचाने के लिए या करप्ट लोग अपने को इस चीज से दूर रहने के लिए कर रहे हैं कि हमको अपना एक जाल ओढ़ के बच सकें। ये जो भी कहते हैं अपने करप्शन को पहले रोकें, और जो करप्ट लोग हैं वो वॉलंटरीली ही डिस्क्लोज कर दें कि हम भाई करप्शन किए हुए हैं और हम मतलब जो भी प्रायश्चित होगा इसके लिए तैयार हैं। वो तो कोई करने को तैयार नहीं है। तो वोट ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस से इस रेड का या करप्शन के रोकने की जो व्यवस्था है उसका कोई लेना देना नहीं है।
All right, Anand Jha, before I let you go, there is this charge by the opposition कि करप्शन सिर्फ ऑपोजिशन के लोग ही करते हैं या बीजेपी के लोग भी करते हैं? बिकॉज हाल ही में हमने देखा है that the central agencies have been going after the opposition leaders, but कभी ये सुनने को नहीं मिलता कि कोई बीजेपी लीडर is also being raided.
मैं एक चीज आपको फिर पूछना चाहता हूं कि इसका ये मतलब नहीं हुआ है कि आपको कोई ऑथराइज कर रहा है करप्शन करने के लिए। अगर कोई भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लोग करप्शन में इन्वॉल्व हैं तो आप भी उसको नोटिस में लाइए। वो तो आप कर नहीं सकते हैं। आप अपने करप्शन को छुपाने के लिए इस तरह का नैरेटिव कर रहे हैं, इसमें कोई इलॉजिकल बात है। ठीक है?
All right, that was Anand Jha from the BJP speaking to us. So thank you so much for your 2 cents on this entire story. And moving on, in fact, the Congress leader Tariq Anwar has alleged that the raids on the RJD leaders is due to the political vendetta. Times Network's Ranjita spoke exclusively to Tariq Anwar. Let's listen in.
सरकार अब दूसरी बन गई। नीतीश कुमार को आज विश्वास प्रस्ताव पेश करना और उससे ठीक पहले ईडी और सीबीआई की छापेमारी चल रही है, न सिर्फ बिहार में बल्कि अब कहा जा रहा है कि गुरुग्राम के एक मॉल में भी जो है छापेमारी हो रही है जो तेजस्वी यादव और उनके परिवार से ताल्लुक रखता है।
देखिए, ये सारी चीज़ें बदले की भावना से हो रही है ये सब लोग समझ रहे हैं कि ये मामला राजनीति से प्रेरित है, क्योंकि भारतीय जनता पार्टी को इस बात का बहुत दुख है बिहार में सरकार जाने का, क्योंकि वो कोशिश तो ये कर रहे थे कि किसी तरह से वहाँ सरकार बचाई जाए, लेकिन वो हो नहीं पाया। तो एक निराशाजनक की स्थिति में है बीजेपी, खासकर बिहार के मामले को लेकर, और अब वो बदले की भावना से काम कर रहे हैं। अभी आरजेडी के नेताओं पर किया है, फिर कल और दूसरे विपक्ष के नेताओं के यहाँ भी ये रेड होगा। भारतीय जनता पार्टी हर हालत में सत्ता को बनाए रखने में दिलचस्पी उसकी है। वो लोकतांत्रिक व्यवस्था में उनका कोई विश्वास नहीं। जब से ये मोदी सरकार आई है, अगर देखा जाए 8 साल में, तो शायद ही किसी एक भारतीय जनता पार्टी के किसी एक नेता के यहाँ या किसी एक समर्थक के यहाँ रेड हुआ होगा। लेकिन चुन चुन के जो विपक्ष के नेता हैं, ये जो भारतीय जनता पार्टी के राजनीति से सहमत नहीं हैं, वो तमाम लोगों के यहाँ रेड हो रहा है। तो ये इस बात को दर्शाता है कि ये जो स्क्रिप्ट है, ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी के कार्यालय में लिखी जाती है